Please, I would ask all the delegates to take their seat, please. We're planning to start at 3:30 sharp. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first meeting of the Economic Commission. Again, my name is Marc Rioux, and I will be your chairperson for our deliberations. First, I would like to thank all the contracting states for placing their trust in me and for electing me as chairperson. I will do my best to guide our discussions over the next couple of days and to ensure we have also productive meetings. I also want to especially to thank the interpreters for their flexibility. They will be with us until 6 today. So at 6 we will close our first meeting, and that means we have a lot of work ahead of us. Comme vous pouvez le voir, nous avons un ordre du jour très chargé aujourd'hui. Et je compte sur votre appui et votre collaboration afin que nous puissions couvrir tous les sujets et en arriver à des discussions fructueuses, particulièrement étant donné le fait que nous aurons moins de temps pour nos délibérations. Alors, sans plus tarder, j'aimerais passer la parole au secrétaire de la Commission, le Dr Boubacar Djibo, directeur du Bureau du transport aérien, afin qu'il présente les membres du secrétariat qui vont nous appuyer dans nos rencontres.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Bonsoir tout le monde. C'est un plaisir et un honneur d'être avec vous ici, avec tous les représentants des États membres. Et bien sûr, à côté de vous, Monsieur le Président. Ce n'est pas une surprise si le choix s'est porté pour vous. Tous ceux qui ont travaillé dans le domaine économique, je pense, ont eu l'honneur et le plaisir de travailler avec vous et donc vous connaissent. Donc, nous avons bien sûr votre CV qui est disponible, mais je crois qu'il est inutile de vous présenter et d'être sûr donc que les débats auront lieu tel que nous le souhaitons. Et bien sûr, je voudrais aussi dire merci à tout le monde, confirmer que le secrétariat est disponible. Now, the formal part of the introduction is that, of course, everybody knows Mr. Toru Hasegawa. He is the Deputy Director, Economic Development. He will be the Deputy Secretary of the Commission. And we have other colleagues who are here that I would like to introduce. Close to me is sitting Mr. Peter Alawani, that you know. He's the Chief of the Economic Regulatory Framework. Then we have Mr. Sainarian, who is the Chief of Aviation Data Analysis. And then we have other colleagues sitting in the meeting room here. I will begin on the table by Mr. Mate Gergele, that you know. He has a very good position in the EU before accepting to join us. And now this is why we have a good team where we have the input from EU member states, which was very important for us in addition to the individual member state positions. Close to him, you have Mrs. Chija Sen. Can you please introduce yourself? Okay. Then you have Mr. Courtney Robinson. If you have issues relating to cargo, go to him. Then we have Antonin Combe, that you know. So anything dealing with data anticipation, explaining in French and in English what we have, he will be pleased to assist you. So in addition, we have I don't see Mustafa, he's sitting there. Oh, sorry, Mr. Mustafa Shauki. So he will be pleased to serve you in Arabic, English, and French. And you have Mrs. Xiao Wang. I don't know where she's hiding. Where is she? She was around in the meeting room. I don't see her. Then you have also our colleague Neslihan Bastug. Is she around? So she will help you in Turkish and in English. So this is the diversity that you have, and you note that the gender balance is there. So we are proud of that under Toru's leadership, that we are sure that the gender aspect is well taken before the debate. And of course, Mustafa will be officially the liaison officer for any issue which may occur during our discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very well, thank you very much. Let's now move to the next item on the agenda, which is the election of the first and second vice persons. Are there any nominations from the floor? Papua New Guinea.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good afternoon. I would like to nominate Captain Gustavo Perez Morales from Panama as the first Vice Chairperson of the Economic Commission. Captain Perez Morales is the Director General of Civil Aviation Authority of Panama. He is a commercial pilot by profession and has been affiliated with the aviation sector for over 24 years. I would also like to nominate Ms. Irina Chepsuk from Ukraine as the second Vice Chairperson of the Economic Commission. Ms. Chepsuk is a Deputy Director of Directorate Head of Air Services and International Cooperation Department, State Aviation Administration of Ukraine. She is an expert in negotiations of air services agreements and has been affiliated with the aviation sector for over 15 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Papua New Guinea. For the nomination of Captain Gustavo Perez Morales of Panama and Ms. Irina Chevchuk from the Ukraine. Does anyone second these nominations? Nigeria.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate you on the opportunity on your nomination as chairperson of the Economic Commission. Nigeria seconds the nomination of Papua New Guinea of Captain Gustavo Perez Morales from Panama as the first vice chairperson of the Economic Commission, and Ms. Irina Shevchuk from Ukraine as the second vice chairperson of the Economic Commission. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Nigeria. With these nominations, which are duly seconded, the Commission has elected Captain Gustavo Perez Morales of Panama and Mrs. Irina Shevchuk from Ukraine as the first and second chairpersons, respectively. Congratulations to both of you. Nous passons maintenant au prochain sujet à l'ordre du jour, c'est-à-dire les présentations des rapports annuels du Conseil à l'Assemblée pour les années 2016, 2017 et 2018. Dr. Thibault, pouvez-vous faire cette présentation, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, bonsoir. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Donc, la Commission économique et les membres sont invités à regarder les rapports qui ont été soumis pour les années 2016, 2017 et 2018. Qui font partie donc du champ de compétences que vous avez. Et ces rapports annuels sont disponibles sur en version électronique sur le site public de l'OACI. So for us, under the Economic Commission, the relevant chapter is the world of air transport, which provides the principal trends and developments in the aviation industry and in the economy in general. Also pertinent in this section related to economic policies and regulation, economics of airport and air navigation services, aviation data and economic analysis, and joint financing administration, which is part of the strategic objective, economic development of air transport. The section on economic facts and figures is also considered relevant for your attention. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Merci, Monsieur Thibault. Est-ce qu'il y a des commentaires sur de la part des délégués dans la salle sur les rapports annuels? Très bien. Alors, la Commission prend note de ce sujet. Merci. Let's now move to the next agenda item, which is item 32, entitled Economic Regulation of International Air Transport Policy. There are lots of papers in this theme, and so because they cover a wide range of topics, the discussions will be grouped in 4 themes. The first one, liberalization and ICAO international agreements, followed by consumer protection, then taxation and slot allocation, and finally, economic regulation of unmanned aircraft. Now, before I begin, I would like to share with you some important instructions for your presentations and for the discussion. As you can see, we have a lot of papers to cover, and I want to be as equitable in allocating the time as possible to each presenter. Just like the airline industry thrives on timeliness, this is the principle that I will keep in mind as a chairperson. Consequently, we will assume that all the delegates have read the papers in advance, since they were distributed ahead of time. You will have 1.5 minutes to do your presentation, so 90 seconds. And this is to ensure that we have enough time for discussions. This means that when you present, you should focus on A, the main theme of the paper or the issue that it addresses, and B, the conclusion, the recommendation, or the next steps. I know it is customary to congratulate the chairperson for his or her election, but today I would say it's not necessary. You can come and see me afterwards if you want to do that. I'll be pleased to shake your hand and accept your kind words, but for discussion, I would ask that you do not do this, and there will be no hard feelings on my part. I will be very strict with time management. I have to warn you ahead of time. I have to do this for the common good. And if you exceed your time allotment, and I actually have a clock in front of me, I will have to stop you. Okay, so keep that in mind. Lastly, I would like to remind you that we benefit from simultaneous interpretation for our deliberations, and that's a vital service to facilitate our discussions. Keep that in mind as you speak. Do not speak too fast so that the interpreters can follow what you say. That will also help greatly with the discussion. So with these instructions in mind, let's begin with the first group of papers. We have 12 working papers under this theme of liberalization and ICAO international agreements, namely Working Paper 16 by the ICAO Council, 278 by Brazil, supported by Chile, 279 by Brazil and Chile, supported by LACAC, 320 by Colombia, 330 by the Dominican Republic, 470 by Peru, supported by LACAC, 181 and 182 by Qatar, 249 by Singapore, co-sponsored by Brunei, Darussalam, Cambodia, Nauru, Palau, as well as Trinidad and Tobago, 192 by the United Arab Emirates, 252 by the United Kingdom, and 186 by AFCAC. These papers will be presented in that order. However, when we get to the discussions, I will explain to you how we've decided to organize ourselves to be as efficient as possible. There are also 3 information papers, 486 by China, 241 by the Arab Civil Aviation Organization, and 415 by the Hermes Air Transport Organization. These information papers will not be presented, but they will be noted in the report. I would now ask the Secretariat to present Working Paper 16.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. This Assembly working paper is the ICAO Council's working paper summarizing the task mandated by the 39th Assembly, taking into account the ICAO long-term vision for international air transport liberalization. Actually, this is a summary of the work conducted by the Air Transport Regulation Panel, ATRP, concerning the examination of an international agreement by which state could liberalize market access, the development of an international agreement to liberalize air carrier ownership and control, and the development of a specific international agreement to further facilitate further liberalization of air cargo services. Paragraph 3 of this working paper contains proposed future work and approaches to be taken by the ICAO on the liberalization of international air transport on multilateral basis. These include, for example, building a better understanding of the benefit of liberalization and barriers to opening market access, promoting and using some of the international convention or the international agreement already developed as a measure to liberalize market access and air cargo services on a multilateral basis, etc., etc. Also, this proposed that the future work includes the finalization, continue to work to finalize the draft convention on foreign investment in airlines. Action by the Assembly is presented in the executive summary box. Finally, I wish to mention that the Secretariat prepared a report of the survey on liberalization of air transport with regard to air cargo services, air carrier ownership and control, and market access. This survey result is available at the ICAO Assembly website under reference documents. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would now ask Brazil to please introduce Working Paper 278, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. So Brazil would like to present Working Paper 278 that brings our experience in the deregulation of air transport, in particular the liberalization for investment in airlines, the important role that cargo services play in the promotion of economic development, and how the constraints imposed by the limit on freedom's right hampered logistic efficiency in all cargo all cargo operations. Therefore, to be very straightforward in that, Brazil invites the 14th session of the Assembly to recognize the benefits of liberalization of all cargo service and to request the Council to continue the work on the development of international agreement to facilitate further liberalization of air cargo service, taking the advantage of the work done by the Air Transport Regulation Panel. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well done, Brazil. Thank you. Can you introduce Working Paper 278, please?
I think that was the 278. Regarding
Apologies, 279.
Yeah, okay. Regarding Working Paper 279, which was prepared by Brazil and Chile and supported by LACLAC members, the working paper presents the relevance of the liberalization of market access to the development of international air transport. The Air Transport Regulation Panel has been doing a very extensive work on this subject, but could not achieve consensus on key issues due to the different views presented by its members. Therefore, the working paper invites the 14th session Assembly to note the position presented on the working paper and request the Council to analyze alternative ways to continue the development of international agreement by which states could liberalize market access, taking the advantage of the work done by the ATRP, and come with a strategy to address the key issues raised by the panel. Thank you very much, sir.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I would now like to ask Colombia to present Working Paper 420.
Buenas tardes. Colombia desea presentar la nota de estudio 420 relacionada con el desarrollo de marcos mundiales de normativa económica para el transporte aéreo internacional. De manera sucinta, después de revisar los esfuerzos que ha hecho el ATRP, deseamos instar a la OASI para que se mantengan dentro de la labor futura del organismo el desarrollo de estos instrumentos internacionales en las tres versiones que se venían trabajando, la liberalización en los servicios de carga, en los servicios de pasajeros y el de inversión extranjera. Muchas gracias.
Bien hecho. Gracias. Ahora me gustaría escuchar a la República Dominicana sobre el documento 330, por favor.
Gracias, señor presidente. En esta nota, la República Dominicana presenta los resultados obtenidos en la implementación de una política aérea bajo un enfoque liberal que pone de relieve los esfuerzos que realiza la OASI para asistir a los estados en aplicar las normas y métodos recomendados, SAR de la organización. Las informaciones destacan los procesos y medidas implementadas bajo un enfoque liberal, los obstáculos rebasados, beneficios obtenidos y se insta a la OASI y a los demás estados a desechar políticas proteccionistas y restrictivas, sobre todo en los países que tienen economía basada en su mayor parte en la prestación de servicios o captación de turismo. Se invita a la Asamblea y se insta a la OASI en su labor futura y programa de trabajo para el próximo trienio, incluye actividades que sirvan para continuar impulsando el diseño de políticas aéreas públicas y la creación de capacidades que promuevan la liberalización del transporte aéreo y que fortalezcan la iniciativa Ningún País se quede atrás. Y revisar la resolución A3915, declaración consolidada de las políticas permanentes de la OASI en la esfera del transporte aéreo. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Ahora me gustaría dar la palabra al delegado de Perú para presentar el documento 470.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. El Perú tiene la satisfacción de presentar como representación de la región latinoamericana un nuevo acuerdo que ha entrado en vigor en el mes de abril del presente año 2019. Es el Acuerdo Multilateral de Cielos Abiertos para los Estados miembros de la CLAC, que significa un avance sustancial en lo referido a la liberalización del transporte aéreo, concordante con la visión de largo plazo establecida por la OASI. Este acuerdo multilateral pretende alcanzar un alcance regional el primer acuerdo de alcance regional que tenemos sobre la materia en Latinoamérica. Y tiene una serie de ventajas. En primer lugar, abarca un extenso territorio desde la frontera sur de los Estados Unidos hasta Chile y Argentina. Agrupa 22 estados. Libera entre sus partes y sus líneas aéreas sin limitaciones numéricas, barreras de acceso al mercado, ni restricciones, ni limitaciones o cuotas de capacidad, tráficos de hasta quinta y sexta libertad, no solo a nivel intrarregional, sino también con terceros estados, abriendo de esta forma grandes perspectivas de mercado para la inversión en esta industria. Bajo un flexible mecanismo de reservas que se ajusta a la política y práctica legislativa de sus partes, permite también a cada estado parte el eventual acceso al intercambio de derechos de séptima, octava y novena libertad. Facilita la inversión en aerolíneas al consagrar entre sus partes el criterio del lugar de constitución y sede principal de negocios en reemplazo del concepto ya superado de propiedad y control nacional de las aerolíneas. Supera el régimen de las reglas de país de origen al generalizar el reconocimiento de la libre fijación de tarifas de manera consistente con las normas nacionales sobre libre competencia. Y finalmente, no menos importante, el acuerdo CLAC puede constituir para la región la base jurídica y aeropolítica para negociaciones aeronáuticas conjuntas con otros bloques u organismos regionales a nivel nacional. Por este motivo, por las ventajas que ello representa, este joven acuerdo que recién empieza su primer año de existencia, se invita a la Asamblea a tomar conocimiento de la entrada en vigor de este instrumento y del aporte que significa para el multilateralismo en aras de la liberalización del transporte aéreo internacional. Muchas gracias, presidente.
Muchas gracias, Peru. I would now like to invite Qatar to present working paper 181 and 182, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Working paper 181. The state of Qatar is of the opinion that the development of international aviation requires an extension and granting traffic right due to its importance to facilitate trade and continued growth for all countries. We believe it is necessary to make progress towards the liberalization of a fully liberalized commercial air service regime. And accordingly, we would like to invite to the Assembly to urge the Council and the Secretary General to continue the work to build a better understanding for the benefits of liberalization and removal of barriers to opening market access, and urge member states to take note of the ongoing liberalization initiatives adopted at a regional level that have contributed to narrowing the differences between the states and removal the barriers to continuous enhancement of market access. Mr. Chairman, I would like to move for working paper 182. We welcome and support ICAO leadership in the development of the draft convention of foreign investment in airline. While many member states have expressed their general support for the draft convention is still subject of concern to some states on the issues of free rider. Qatar strongly supports the idea to waive the traditional ownership requirements for the foreign investment in airline. Thus, we would like to propose the development of a multi-tier regime, allowing the contracting parties to freely decide the extent to which they are willing to liberalize, while addressing the concern of some states about the issue of free riders. Qatar would like also to recall the practices of flags of convenience in the shipping industry. We invite the Assembly to request the Council to include Qatar's proposal in paragraph 3.3 and 3.4, including the appendixes to this working paper and ICAO's future work program with views to be addressed and discussed by the ATRB. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Qatar. I would now like to invite Singapore to present working paper 249, please.
I have the pleasure to present Working Paper 249 on behalf of Singapore. The paper is co-sponsored by Brunei Darussalam, Cambodia, Nauru, Palau, and Trinidad and Tobago. I would also like to reflect Indonesia, Laos PDR, Marshall Islands, New Zealand, North Macedonia, and Thailand as our co-sponsors. The co-sponsors of this paper notes that there are several multi-party agreements around the world, and we suggest that this approach could be a stepping stone to achieve a truly global, international, multilateral agreement on market access liberalization. We note that some of these benefits of smaller scale multi-party air transport agreements can include: one, greater flexibility in terms of implementation, in terms of timelines and scope of liberalization to allow states with less developed aviation sectors time to adjust. Two, the inclusion of deeper cooperation on issues such as aviation safety, air traffic management, capacity building, and doing business issues, thus expanding the benefits of traditional air services agreements. Three, the ability to access a wider pool of benefits with more partners that may not be available through bilateral exchanges. And four, an increase in the reach of open aviation markets moving beyond blocks and regions. So we would like to invite the Assembly to recognize the benefits of ambitious multilateral agreements and to request ICAO to identify these benefits and to examine successful multilateral air transport agreements as a stepping stone to build confidence for a truly global international agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Singapore. May I ask the United Arab Emirates to please present Working Paper 192.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We invite the Assembly to take account of the UAE's views, in particular that the ATRP should not cease its work on development of an international agreement to facilitate further liberalization of air cargo services. As is evident, liberalization of air cargo results in enhanced connectivity and greater benefits to countries and economies. Conversely, international experience clearly demonstrates that restrictive air transport policies and practices stifle air travel, tourism, and business, and consequently, economic growth and job creation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, can someone from AFCAC present Working Paper 186? I don't see anybody in AFCAC seat. Does an African country want to present the paper? Togo?
Yes.
Merci.
Bonsoir, Monsieur le Président. Le Togo a l'honneur de présenter la note de la CAFAC pour AFCAC. Donc, le SAATM, qu'est-ce que c'est que le SAATM? C'est le Single African Air Transport Market. Le lancement a eu lieu le 28 janvier 2018 à Addis Abeba, lors de la 30e Assemblée générale de l'UA. Le président du Togo a été champion par ses pairs. Alors, qu'est-ce que nous voulons faire avec le SAATM? Le SAATM n'est ni plus ni moins que l'application de la décision de Yamoussoukro entièrement. Et nous invitons donc les États, les compagnies à coopérer par des alliances. Donc, alors, distinguished, I want to tell you that actually we are 31 states with 58%. Donc, c'est très, très, très important. Il faut absolument que les pays se mettent ensemble et que les compagnies soient fortes pour des économies d'échelle. Alors, qu'est-ce que nous invitons l'Assemblée à retenir? Nous voulons que l'Assemblée puisse prendre note de la création du SAATM et de la pleine opérationnalisation de l'agence exécutive de la décision de Yamoussoukro, à instruire le Conseil de renforcer la collaboration de l'OACI avec la CAFAC en tant qu'agence d'exécution de la décision de Yamoussoukro sur les questions de transport aérien, à instruire le Conseil d'accélérer les activités de l'OACI concernant la mise en œuvre du plan d'action conjoint prioritaire sur le développement durable du transport aérien en Afrique, notamment le plan directeur pour le développement des capacités du transport aérien. Nous invitons aussi à accompagner la CAFAC. La CAFAC a besoin de financement, a besoin de formation pour aider les pays africains à vraiment atteindre les SARP, c'est-à-dire que avoir minimum 60% en sécurité et 65% en sûreté. Malheureusement, il n'y a qu'une minute 30, je suis obligé de m'arrêter là-bas. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci beaucoup le Togo pour votre présentation. There's one paper that I did not mention. It's 252 by the United Kingdom. Can you please go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was worried that you'd forgotten about me. I should like to give a brief overview of Working Paper 252 presented by the United Kingdom. The central message in our paper is simple. The nationality of who owns and controls an airline should not be the prime consideration in determining whether or not that airline can operate. Our paper suggests that what is most important and relevant is that an airline is safe, secure, financially sound, run by credible individuals and properly regulated. I think it's fair to say that nationality-based restrictions on airline ownership have provoked lively debate in recent years, and much work, turn the page over, remains to address the many concerns expressed by various stakeholders. We're most certainly not suggesting that it will be easy to secure a broad international consensus in this regard, but we believe that the effort is warranted and that indeed it should be a priority. We contend that nationality-based restrictions limit airlines' access to capital and therefore their ability to sustain and develop their businesses. Such restrictions also constrain market access to the detriment of consumers. With all of this in mind, and noting ICAO's long-term vision for the liberalization of international air transport, Working Paper 252 invites the Assembly to urge ICAO through its Air Transport Regulation Panel to continue work on the development of a convention on foreign investment in airlines, to retain a high level of ambition to relax nationality-based restrictions on the ownership and control of airlines, and recognising that much work remains and that it could take some time, we also call upon ICAO to seek to finalise and adopt a convention at the earliest opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So this concludes the presentation part of our meeting. Now I'd like to explain how the discussion part will unfold. So in consultation with the Secretariat, I've come up with the following plan, which aims to be as efficient as possible. Also by grouping working papers in a logical way. So we will first discuss working paper 16. Following that, we will discuss working paper 279 and 420 together. And after that, we'll discuss working papers 181, 249, 186, 330, and 470. After that, we will discuss working papers 278 and 192, and we will conclude with working papers 252 and 182. So now I invite delegates to provide concise, brief comments on working paper 16. Germany, please.
Thanks a lot, Chairperson. Germany basically supports the working paper but has an issue with the current envisaged path for the development of an international agreement to liberalize air carrier ownership and control. In our opinion, the proposed investment convention lacks several important issues. In general, we think that any international liberalization of ownership and control, as well as international liberalization of traffic rights, should be connected to addressing adequately issues like fair competition framework, as well as labor and social standards. The proposed investment convention built on existing air service agreements. However, many existing air services agreements haven't included any or just a very limited fair competition clause. Therefore, reassurances in the investment convention are indispensable. Furthermore, the draft investment convention doesn't contain any statements regarding labor and social standards to commit to core agreements of the International Labour Organization, which is essential for establishing a level playing field. Therefore, Working Paper 16 should, under point 3, future work, explicitly name further groundwork on fair competition and social and labor standards. Under 3.7, it's of fundamental importance to include reassurances related to the several important remaining issues that need to be addressed with convincing solutions. A lot of work still has to be done thoroughly and not with a view to finalizing the draft convention soon, but to finalize it as soon as appropriate reassurances are included. Thank you.
Thank you, Germany. France?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Sur la note de travail numéro 16, la délégation française encourage et soutient le travail de l'OACI à l'appui de la mise en œuvre de la vision à long terme de l'Organisation pour la libéralisation du transport aérien international, que traduit d'ailleurs le programme de travail qui est esquissé par cette note qui recueille notre soutien. Cependant, s'agissant du travail restant à mener sur le projet de convention sur les investissements étrangers dans les compagnies aériennes, nous souhaiterions demander au paragraphe 3.7 la suppression des mots relatifs aux profiteurs et à la supervision réglementaire. En anglais, on free riders and regulatory oversight. Ce ne sont en effet pas les seuls sujets à aborder dans cette discussion à venir, et j'en veux pour preuve d'ailleurs que les recommandations de la TRP, telles qu'elles ont été approuvées par le comité du transport aérien, ne contiennent aucun sujet spécifique. Donc il faut, à mon avis, rester large sur cette formulation-là. Voilà, je peux formuler cette proposition par écrit au secrétariat si vous le désirez.
Oui, ça serait apprécié. Merci. Colombia?
Gracias, señor presidente. Bueno, Colombia quisiera manifestar que las conclusiones de la sexta Conferencia Mundial de Transporte Aéreo y en la pasada asamblea se hizo un pedido por parte de la comunidad internacional para que la OACI trabajara en este desarrollo de instrumentos normativos. Si bien reconocemos el gran esfuerzo y el trabajo que se ha venido realizando en esta materia, la solicitud es que se mantenga en la labor futura de la OACI estos trabajos. Compartimos que pueden hacer falta muchos elementos que garanticen para todas las partes los mismos beneficios, pero es importante que en la labor futura del próximo trienio queden considerados y no se cesen los trabajos. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Italy, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and all distinguished delegates. Considering Working Paper 16, Italy supports Working Paper 16 presented by the ICAO Council with the spirit, the ratio of continuing the discussion in the 60th ICAO working groups and platform. Italy supports this project because the reform of this complex system is an essential part of the modernization of the air transport sector to promote the development of connectivity and commercial relationships among states. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Canada, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Canada would support Working Paper 16 as presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway?
Thank you, Chairman. When it comes to Working Paper 16, we welcome this paper, and we especially welcome the reference to the ATC conclusions regarding how the work with these international agreements should be taken forward, and we fully support these conclusions. And when it comes to the work program of ICAO as presented in point 3, we agree that the development of an international agreement on market access should remain an ambition, but that further work at this stage should concentrate on building a better understanding of liberalization and its benefits. When it comes to point 3.6, we have an issue. In point 3.6, it's stated that the future development of a modern and more ambitious multilateral agreement will need a flexible and pragmatic approach which allows for reservations. As far as we can remember, the status of the discussions on the issue reservations in the ATRP and the ATRP working group is that there is no consensus as to whether there should be provisions allowing for reservations. So we think it's premature to conclude on this issue, which should be further discussed in the ATRP and the ATRP working group when, at some stage, these discussions resurface. We also support the continuing work with the draft convention on foreign investment in airlines, where good progress has already been made in order to finalize this agreement, which is referred to in point 3.7. There are, however, still important outstanding issues to be resolved, but we hope that this can be done in due course. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ACI, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Airports support the liberalization of air transport as it contributes to the growth of air transport and of airport traffic on a sound and stable economic basis, and it fosters local as well as global socioeconomic development. Economic regulatory frameworks and policies can accompany airports' incentive to grow traffic. By intensifying competition between airlines, the liberalization of air transport benefits consumers by bringing airfares down, fostering competition between various airline models, and by increasing routes and frequencies. Air transport liberalization benefits airports of all sizes. A more liberalized environment enables airlines to fly to secondary airports and capture previously untapped demand. The resulting traffic is essential to improve secondary airports' profitability, and the improved connectivity is a significant socioeconomic achievement. Allowing air services to and from multiple airports enables allocative efficiency, which represents consumer preferences. So to conclude, Mr. Chairman, airports favor the adoption of a more liberal air transport policies on a bilateral, on a regional, and on multilateral basis, as these are key contributors to accompanying the growth of airport traffic. We support Working Paper 16.
Thank you very much, ACI. Austria, please.
Thank you, Chair. Is it on? I don't know. Yeah, thank you, Chair. We also welcome Working Paper 6 and the progress report on the development of international agreements. And we support the proposed work program as presented in point 3 of the paper. We share also the view that it's very important to continue the work on the draft Convention on Foreign Investment in ATRP and to address and resolve the outstanding issues. We have some concerns or issues with 3.5. We think that in order to better understand benefits of the liberalization process, we think that it might be more useful to examine and look at the existing modernized and more ambitious multilateral agreements, like the European Common Aviation Area Agreement or the ASEAN Agreement, as positive examples for liberal agreements. And we would be more reluctant to look at older and simpler structured multilateral agreement as outlined in 3.5. Thanks.
Thank you very much. United States, please.
Thank you. The United States supports building the case for liberalization to build a better understanding of the benefits and challenges of liberalization and the barriers to opening market access for both passenger and cargo services, and also to identify what states need to assist them in pursuing liberalization. However, in paragraphs 3.4 and 3.5 in the future work, we see a suggestion about reverting to a 1944 older agreement that might be tailored for cargo purposes. And we find that this would be counterproductive and would not want to see ICAO resources devoted to such an effort. The ATRP considered several different simple approaches for a cargo agreement, and all were rejected for similar reasons, and the issues related to market access must be resolved before we proceed to an air cargo liberalization agreement. So there is no point in pursuing it until the task of building the case for liberalization is completed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, United States. China?
主席，那么中国呢也是非常赞赏国际民航组织和 ATRP 做的长期有效的工作，也表示支持航空运输自由化的长期愿景。但是在这个过程中呢，我们认为自由化是促进航空运输发展的一个过程，而不是目的。
May I ask China just to stop a minute? There's no interpretation, at least in English. I can hear you now, yes. Can the delegate from China start again, please?
可以。谢谢主席。中国对这个建议也表示赞赏，那么也表示支持航空运输自由化的一个长期愿景。但是我们同时认为，自由化是促进国际航空运输发展的过程，而不是目的。在这个过程中，需要更加灵活、妥协的态度，来通过分享各成员国或区域在相关领域的成功做法，加强沟通和了解，积极根据国情进行差异化的案例和探索实践。所以我们建议继续请 ATRP 专家组开展相关的研究工作。此外，中国也在提议这个文件下提交了一份信息文件，那么介绍的我们近10年中国和东盟10国在航空运输的一些做法和经验，也愿意跟大家分享和交流。谢谢。
Thank you, China. May I ask Australia, please?
Thank you, Chair. Australia supports Working Paper 16. It was derived, we can say, after a lot of hard work, including the Future Work Program, but we acknowledge there are some concerns about parts of that document, but certainly we hope that states who have been involved in this process understand that this is where we reached. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Argentina.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Quería en principio reconocer el trabajo de la TRP y sus conclusiones y los tiempos que requieren para este grupo de trabajo tomar esas conclusiones. Consideramos que existen, como ya se ha expresado aquí, dificultades para la implementación de este tipo de acuerdos en algunos estados y también que existen aspectos, se han nombrado dos, por ejemplo, sociales y laborales, que considerar seriamente, algunos de los cuales podrían tener que ver con la legislación interna de cada uno de los estados. Con todo esto creemos que se debe continuar estudiando, no se debe apresurar conclusiones hasta no tener perfectamente definido todas las variables que deben ser consideradas para acuerdos tipo. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Muchas gracias. Finland, please.
Finland would like to say that we support Working Paper 16, and it is a very good start for basis for the ATRP to continue in this work.
Thank you. Le Togo, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Et le Togo appuie vraiment cette note très très importante de l'OACI. Et le Togo aussi appuie la libéralisation à l'instar de la décision de Yamoussoukro et surtout du SAATM. Nous pensons que la libération, c'est une très bonne chose. Libre concurrence, ça va faire baisser les prix, ça va faire voyager les gens, il y aura le développement économique. Et j'appuie par la même occasion donc les USA et la France dans leurs remarques. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci beaucoup. Le Togo, Venezuela, por favor.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Venezuela apoya la nota 16 tal cual se presentó y reconocemos la labor y los esfuerzos efectuados por la OASI. Actualmente nosotros nos encontramos efectuando el análisis de los temas abordados durante las recientes reuniones de la TRP, así como en su incidencia en la legislación aeronáutica nacional, a los fines de crear el marco jurídico ideal que nos permita sumarnos a la política de liberalización del transporte aéreo internacional, de acuerdo a los objetivos estratégicos que contempla la OASI. Gracias, señor presidente.
Muchas gracias. Dominica.
República Dominicana, muchas gracias. Expresar nuestro apoyo a la nota número 16 que presenta la OASI, reconociendo el esfuerzo que se ha venido haciendo para lograr los mayores niveles de liberalización y a invitar a continuar haciendo los esfuerzos para vencer los obstáculos que impiden todavía y que tienen algunas limitaciones.
Muchas gracias. We have one more delegate who wants to take the floor, United Arab Emirates, so please do so. I'm sensing strong support for the paper with some adjustments. So in the interest of time, so Chile just jumped in, so Chile will be the last delegate to speak. I think otherwise we have a pretty good sense of where the floor is on this working paper. So, United Arab Emirates, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. In reference to working paper 16, the United Arab Emirates is of view that liberalization instrument should not include any restrictive element, such as safeguard, as they should not be linked to market access. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. Y Chile, por favor.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. No voy a repetir comentarios que ya se han hecho en torno a la nota 16, que brevemente concordamos en plenitud con su contenido. Chile ha participado activamente en el ATRP, sosteniendo precisamente los principios que emanan de la visión de largo plazo de la OASI, la cual, por cierto, está implementada en nuestras políticas nacionales. Únicamente quisiera recordar que en esos trabajos que el ATRP ha venido desarrollando, se mencionó como una de las tareas pendientes también ilustrar a los estados, instruir, promover, difundir el concepto de liberalización y su alcance y contenido. Es probable que tengamos visiones distintas de lo que eso significa y de lo que entendemos por ese concepto. Es parte del trabajo que el grupo debiera también seguir desarrollando. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. This concludes the discussion on Working Paper 16. We will now discuss Working Papers 279. From Brazil and Chile, as well as 420 from Colombia. So I invite comments on these two working papers, please, keeping them brief as we've been doing so far. Thank you. Chile, please, por favor. ¿Otra vez? ¿No? Colombia.
Gracias, señor presidente. Básicamente, la delegación de Colombia quisiera apoyar la nota de estudio presentada, la 278 y la 279 presentadas por Brasil y Chile.
Muchas gracias. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would like to support the note presented by Colombia, the 420. Thank you.
Canada.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As regards the issue of air cargo liberalization, Canada believes that the issue has already been considered at great length by the ATRP and does not support the continuation of this work. It agrees with the conclusion that was presented in Working Paper 16 that reaching a consensus on this issue is unlikely, and that sufficient resources have been devoted to this topic and existing tools available are sufficient at this time. Similarly, we also believe that the work that has been undertaken on market access has stalled and similarly is unlikely to proceed and would again support the approach taken in Working Paper 16. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada. Paraguay.
Gracias, señor presidente. Con respecto a la nota de estudio 279 presentada por Brasil y Chile, nosotros consideramos que sí es importante tener en cuenta que todos los instrumentos que tengan una repercusión en lo que es el esquema de la liberalización de los mercados es positivo. Por lo tanto, solicitamos que se siga teniendo en cuenta este tema. Y con respecto a la nota presentada por Colombia, la número 420, también consideramos que es muy importante que la OASI tenga en cuenta el seguir incorporando todas estas actividades mencionadas en la nota para el próximo trienio 2020, 2021 y 2022. Gracias, señor presidente.
Muchas gracias. Australia.
Thank you, Chair. We fully support the comments from our Canadian colleagues. I think they summarised the situation very well. Thank you, Chair.
New Zealand.
Thank you, Chair. We do not consider that a network of thousands of bilateral arrangements is the most appropriate way to regulate the world's most global industry in the 21st century. We remain hopeful that with time, states will recognize the benefits to their people, their economies, and airlines of the services that are enabled by liberalization of air services arrangements. We concur that for now, there is not a consensus among member states about the form and content of such an agreement. We believe that regional liberalization is a useful way for states to gain experience in and see the benefits of allowing airlines more ability to serve markets where they see opportunities. And in that light, we are pleased to have been one of the lead parties in the development of the Multilateral Agreement on Liberalization of International Air Transport. And last week, we held a productive first round of negotiations with ASEAN to have a regional air services agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, New Zealand. Dominican Republic.
Gracias, señor presidente. La República Dominicana apoya la nota 420 presentada por Colombia, la 278 y la 279 presentada por Chile y Brasil, y entiende, igual que Paraguay, que todo elemento que sea un impedimento para la liberalización tiene que seguirse trabajando dentro del seno de la OASI. Entendemos que todavía los servicios de carga están limitados en muchos acuerdos internacionales sobre el servicio aéreo y es un tema que principalmente para los países latinoamericanos merece bastante atención. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. United States, please.
The United States supports continuing to work for the highest possible level of liberalization of market access. However, we are of the view that the Air Transport Committee's direction for the next triennium is the appropriate and necessary course to take in order to build a solid foundation for the market access liberalization agreements for cargo and passenger that we've been discussing. We would also point out that for those states anxious to pursue liberalized air services now, they may continue to do so on a bilateral or regional level in the meantime. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. Cuba, por favor.
Gracias, presidente. Buenas tardes. En seguimiento a los asuntos que hemos estado analizando, quisiera puntualizar que aun cuando nuestro Estado no practica o no tiene una política liberalizadora de transporte aéreo, evidentemente los ejemplos positivos y los no tan positivos de aquellos países que lo han implementado, que lo practican, nos sirve para continuar llevando a cabo un desarrollo flexible de esta política. En ese sentido, nosotros apoyamos las notas de estudio 279, 420, que están enfocadas justamente en continuar los estudios y los esfuerzos para lograr que exista una mayor claridad en estos enfoques y que los países, aún con sus diferencias, puedan llegar a una política que les permita un mayor desarrollo del transporte aéreo en beneficio de sus países y de sus pueblos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. May I ask United Arab Emirates, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. United Arab Emirates support working paper 279, namely for ICAO to continue the development of an international agreement on market access liberalizations. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Finland, please.
Thank you very much. While Finland is fully supporting the liberalization of the market concerning cargo, at this moment the cargo issue has been dealt with the Air Transport Committee, and it is not worthwhile to continue the work right now in ICAO air transport panel because it has already settled. So the time is not right, but the idea as such is good, and we support the multilateral approach of those states who are willing to liberalize that sector.
Thank you very much. There are no more delegates asking for the right to speak, so we will now move to the next batch of papers. So 181, 249, 186, 330, and 470. Albania, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Albania recognizes the added value brought to the attention of participants from working paper 249 from Singapore and other countries, and this support comes from our first-hand experience with the ECAA, European Common Aviation Agreement, an agreement between the EU, Norway, Iceland, and 6 Western Balkan countries, among which Albania. The benefits of the ECAA we enjoy every day, where there is not only the connectivity benefits, but also the added value in capacity building, adherence to the EU acquis, and therefore the ICAO SARPs. The ECAA serves as a benchmark for our oversight system compliance. The ASEAN countries will also have the chance to witness the vast benefits of the EU-Asian Air Service Agreement through CATA. Therefore, we support this paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Albania. Mali.
Merci bien, Monsieur le Président.
le Mali voudrait apporter son soutien à la note de travail 186 présentée par le Togo, qui porte sur le marché unique du transport aérien en Afrique. Figurez-vous que pour relier deux villes distantes en Afrique d'une heure de vol, on peut passer banalement 48 heures. Donc vous comprendrez aisément pourquoi nous soutenons cette note et surtout pour tous les développements qui ont été faits par le représentant du Togo. Et permettez par la même occasion de soutenir également la note 16 pour les mêmes raisons. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Merci beaucoup, Mali. Ireland.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ireland supports the economically viable development of international air transport, including the liberalisation of foreign investment in airlines. We encourage ICAO and its member states to continue to actively implement the ICAO long-term vision for international air transport liberalisation of market access, adopted by the ICAO Council in 2015 to reap the benefits of liberalisation. Market liberalisation acts as an important enabler for economic growth, employment creation, and the development of increased business, tourism, and cultural links internationally. Ireland fully supports the work of the ICAO ATRP, which provides a valuable international forum to address these topics and for the exchange of expertise and ideas, helping to raise mutual understanding worldwide. Recent discussions in the ATRP have been challenging, but it is important that we maintain a global dialogue on these issues and, if necessary, refocus discussions to find some common ground. In this regard, Ireland would like to support Working Paper 249, presented by Singapore and co-sponsored by several other states, which highlights the importance of ambitious multilateral air transport agreements, which could be a pathfinder to an ICAO multilateral air transport agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ACI.
Thank you, Chairman. This intervention is on Working Paper 186 presented by AFCAC. ACI applauds the Single African Air Transport System. ACI wishes to record to the Economics Commission and to the Assembly that it takes a good note of Working Paper 186 and its mention of the ongoing advocacy efforts on the economic oversight of airports and on user charges and capacity building undertaken by AFCAC in its capacity of the executing agency of the Yamoussoukro decision. As such, ACI offers its full support to AFCAC in its advocacy effort and wishes to be associated to the initiatives jointly undertaken by AFCAC and ICAO and referred to in paragraph 5.3. Merci.
Merci, ACI. Mozambique.
Mr. President, thank you very much. All protocol has been observed. Mozambique supports Working Paper 186 presented by Togo on behalf of the 54 African member states of AFCAC. Obrigado.
Thank you very much, Mozambique. Norway, please.
Thank you, Chair. My comments this time focus on Working Paper 181. We can support many of the things that Qatar states in this working paper. For instance, we fully share their opinion that the discussion on liberalization and market access should continue, and that there for the time being is a need to concentrate on building a better understanding of liberalization and its benefit. And this is also in line with the ATC's conclusions, which we have already said that we fully support. And we also agree that it could be helpful for member states in this work to consider the ongoing liberalization initiatives that have been undertaken at a regional level and to take note of the approaches which have been chosen. And we are also pleased to note that Qatar acknowledges the concerns raised by several member states regarding the level of traffic rights to be included in the multilateral agreement on market access, and concerns regarding the need for reassurances, and that such concerns need to be taken into consideration in any future agreement, even if Qatar may not share those same concerns. And Norway is indeed of the opinion that an international agreement on market access would need to contain certain reassurances. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Norway. United Kingdom. And just before you speak, I guess, again, in the interest of time, if you support a particular working paper, all you need to do is to say so. You don't need to justify your support. Just say I support working paper XXX. If you want to comment on a working paper, just go straight and provide your comments on that working paper. Again, because of time is short today. And so, UK, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope it goes without saying that we support the long-term vision for the liberalisation of international air transport, and in particular we support work, as I explained earlier, on development of a convention on liberalisation of ownership and control. I'd like to speak in particular regarding working papers 181 presented by Qatar and working paper 249 presented by Singapore and supported by various other states. On 181, as I say, we support work towards ICAO's long-term vision, but I'd like to perhaps pick up on the points my Norwegian friend made, which is that obviously, you know, this is not a straightforward issue, and in order to be confident and comfortable about opening up market access, states need to also be confident and comfortable that they are dealing with a level playing field. The paper presented by Singapore, we support the idea of multilateral approach to air services agreements is, of course, extremely logical, as was explained very clearly when that paper was presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Council?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of CANSO, the Civil Air Navigation Services Organization, we support working paper 186 as presented by Togo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. ITF, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Very briefly, 1 minute only, a few comments on 249 and related to other papers that were also presented. For many years, the ITF have actively participated and contributed to the work of the ATRP. Throughout, we have been proponents of socially conscious liberalization process that requires adequate protections and safeguards that are put into place to protect aviation workers across the globe. We do this with the unfortunate experience of rapid global liberalization of the maritime industry through the flags of convenience model, which resulted in maritime workers being subject to horrendous working conditions. This is not something we want to replicate in the aviation industry, so we oppose to complete liberalization of several aspects of the regulatory framework of our industry. A multi-party approach to liberalization is a concept consistent with the agenda of the ATRP, but like an international agreement on liberalization, this cannot take place without adequate social and environmental protections and safeguards. In the last sitting of the ATRP, the group discussed the potential for impact assessments on all areas that will be affected by liberalization, which we would expect to include the environment and labor. This is something the ITF supports, and we feel that it would benefit all stakeholders in the long term. Throughout the last ASEAN-European negotiation process, social stakeholders were invited to participate. This model has also been used in European negotiations with Brazil, Turkey, Qatar, and many others. This process has aided a holistic approach to liberalization and ensured the voice of all stakeholders is heard. We would contribute in designing a process of interregional liberalization, like it's mentioned in 249, but only with concrete assurances that the issues of safeguards continue to be discussed and that regional groups consider ways to ensure all stakeholders have an adequate voice in negotiations similar to that which was had in the ASEAN-European negotiations at bilateral level. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly, Australia generally supports working paper 249, but we just have one caution, and that is that the paper seems to make an assumption that all current existing regional arrangements are successful, and we just need to be a bit cautious about that. So in doing work on it, we would recommend that we would have to see whether or not the existing agreements are actually relevant to achieving a global air services agreement. We think there's a bit of a difference there, but generally speaking, we agree with the theme of the Singapore paper. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Le Maroc.
شكرا سيد الرئيس، شكرا للحضور. من جهتنا نؤيد وندعم جميع العناصر والخلاصات الواردة في ورقة العمل رقم 186 المقدمة من طرف الطوغو حول السوق الأفريقية الموحدة للنقل الجوي.
One moment, please, Morocco. We have also an interpretation problem. It's not coming through in English or French.
Yes. OK. Merci, Monsieur le Président. De notre côté, donc, nous soutenons et nous appuyons donc, la note de travail numéro 186 présentée par le Togo relative au marché unique de transport aérien en Afrique. L'objectif étant de soutenir et de renforcer la libéralisation en Afrique. Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Bolivia.
Gracias, presidente. Muy buenas tardes a todos los asistentes. Bolivia quiere referirse específicamente a la nota 330, que de todas maneras está relacionada con las 181, 249 y 470. En todo caso, Bolivia felicita la iniciativa de República Dominicana de haber aplicado las iniciativas planteadas en la Conferencia de Transporte Aéreo y las decisiones de la 38 y 39 asambleas. Aplaudimos el éxito y deseamos que sigan adelante aquello. La iniciativa de Dominicana seguramente va a servir de ejemplo para que otros estados apliquen este tipo de políticas e implementen las políticas de liberalización del transporte aéreo. En todo caso, queremos apoyar esta nota y las otras notas también. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. United Arab Emirates, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Really, I want to make it very short. United Arab Emirates supporting working paper 249 and working paper 470. Thank you.
Thank you. Paraguay.
Gracias, señor presidente. Paraguay apoya la nota de estudio 330 tal como fue presentada por la República Dominicana, reconociendo los beneficios que trae aparejada una política liberal. En cuanto a la nota de estudio 278, presentada por el Brasil y con el apoyo de Chile, nosotros también apoyamos dicha nota tal como fuera presentada por el distinguido delegado de Brasil. En cuanto a la nota de estudio 470, que fuera presentada por el distinguido delegado del Perú, el Paraguay considera de que todo instrumento multilateral debe ser especialmente considerado por los países o mercados de gran expresión económica, teniendo en cuenta que estos países y estos mercados son los emisores principales del turismo a nivel mundial y por tanto de pasajeros. Y todo esto, señor presidente, siempre debemos tener en cuenta los estados que es en beneficio del multilateralismo en las relaciones aeronáuticas. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. South Africa.
Mr. Chair, South Africa wishes to state its support of Working Paper 186 as presented by Togo on behalf of AFCAC and underscore its active support of the Single African Air Transport Market, to which it is one of the signatories. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Brazil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's our view that we need to take advantage of all initiatives that towards the liberalization of the market, and therefore we don't see that we see that those regional approaches and examples that we have in the regions need to be taken into account by states seeking liberalization, and support all working papers in this batch. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Egypt.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. إن مصر تدعم الورقة رقم 186 المقدمة من توجو باسم الأفكاك لتسهيل حركة النقل الجوي بين الدول الأفريقية التي عانت لفترات طويلة من عدم الربط بين مدنها بالشكل المطلوب. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you very much, Egypt. Cameroon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Cameroon supports Working Paper 186 presented by Togo on behalf of AFCAC on the single air transport market. We believe that this initiative will improve connectivity and reduce cost of air transport within the continent. Thank you.
Canada.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Canada would support Working Paper 186, action items A and B, but does wonder if more detail is needed regarding item C, particularly as it has resource implications and a clearer picture of the impact might be advisable. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada. Spain.
Gracias, presidente. En la línea comentada por la ITF, España considera que la liberalización en general es positiva. En ese sentido, apoyamos los papers, pero no puede ir en contra de los trabajadores del sector. Por tanto, debemos buscar vías para hacerlas compatibles. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, España. United States, please.
Thank you. I'd like to support Qatar's proposal in Paper 181 to do a comprehensive review of liberalization agreements in regional blocks. And in that regard, we thank all of the states that submitted papers that are being considered under this subject area. Examining the smaller scale multi-party phased approach to liberalization highlighted in the various papers may provide a path forward towards multilateral liberalization as envisioned by the ICAO long-term vision. Thank you.
Thank you very much, United States. I have 6 more states. There's general support for these papers. I've got 6 countries lined up. I will take no more after that because I think there's a strong consensus. Again, if you take the microphone, state your support. Don't need to justify it. If you have specific comments, then please do so. Next, Venezuela.
Gracias, señor presidente. Solo queríamos expresar que Venezuela apoya la nota de estudio 330 presentada por República Dominicana y celebramos los grandes avances que ellos han obtenido en esa materia. Creemos que esa experiencia puede tomarse como referencia para el resto de los estados. Gracias, señor presidente.
Muchas gracias. Colombia.
Gracias, señor presidente. Colombia desea manifestar su apoyo a la nota de estudio 330 presentada por República Dominicana, 470 presentada por el Perú y con el apoyo de los estados de la CLAC y 181 presentada por Qatar.
Muchas gracias, Perú.
Gracias, presidente. El Perú desea igualmente reiterar, como no lo puede hacer de otra forma, al haber expuesto la nota de estudio 470, su respaldo a las notas de estudio 278, 279, 330 y 181 y 182 presentadas por Qatar, haciendo una especial mención con respecto a un tema que consideramos esencial. Si los países principales emisores, como lo mencionó la distinguida representante de Paraguay, ofrecen una flexibilización con respecto al concepto de propiedad y control por parte de nacionales y acogen lo que hemos recogido en el Acuerdo Multilateral de Cielos Abiertos de los Estados miembros de la Comisión Latinoamericana de Aviación Civil, desplazando este criterio hacia el criterio de lugar de constitución y sede principal de negocios, sería un aporte fundamental para una efectiva liberalización y para que sigamos implementando en la práctica el concepto de que ningún país se quede atrás en consideración a las ingentes inversiones de capital que se requieren para constituir líneas aéreas verdaderamente competitivas en el mundo. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Perú. Uruguay.
Gracias, señor presidente. Uruguay apoya las notas presentadas por República Dominicana, 330, 470 del Perú, 278 y 279 de Brasil y Chile. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Guyana.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The subject of liberalization is a very important one for the development of the industry. And therefore, Guyana supports working paper 470 as presented by Peru, 330 as presented by the Dominican Republic, 186 as presented by Togo on behalf of AFCAC, and working paper 181 presented by Qatar, and 249 as presented by Singapore. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And lastly, Nicaragua.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. El Estado de Nicaragua apoya la nota 279 por Brasil y Chile, también la 330 por República Dominicana. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. We will now turn to the next subgroup of working papers, 278 and 192. Just to remind you, 278 is presented by Brazil with the support of Chile, and 192 presented by the United Arab Emirates. So the floor is now open for comments on these two working papers. Sweden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to address the working paper 278 presented by Brazil and supported by Chile. And I would like to do that by first thanking Brazil and Chile for sharing their experience of the regulation of its air transport industry. It's pleasing to see that liberalization delivered benefits as described in this working paper. However, as Brazil's working paper initially states, the ATRP, the panel, has deemed the route of having a separate cargo protocol as impassable and not the chosen way forward to achieve and realize the benefits of liberalization. Hence, I would like to draw the attention of the Economic Commission to the fact that the panel is the instrument of choice and the body that is tasked with achieving this balanced approach for achieving the ICAO long-term vision of liberalization. So it is my view that we should not and cannot extract one component as this cargo protocol that is addressed in this working paper. I think it is of great importance to confirm that the panel is the body tasked for this undertaking via a balanced approach. If not, we're at risk of being not being able to address the core issues that are at stake here. And in this context, I'm sure that many of us here that have participated in the panel's work in meetings can relate to the discussions on the need for reassurances to be included in order to achieve an effective and attractive instrument. In summary, Mr. Chairman, the way forward for achieving effective instruments for realization of liberalization is within the panel, and therefore Sweden cannot support the working paper 278. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. La France?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Mon intervention s'inscrira en fait dans la continuité de mon collègue suédois. S'agissant de ces deux notes, il est important de souligner à nouveau la nécessité de ne pas s'éloigner des recommandations de la TRP telles qu'elles ont été approuvées par le Comité du transport aérien. Or, ces recommandations sont claires s'agissant de l'élaboration d'un accord pour faciliter la libéralisation des services de fret aérien. Les travaux ne doivent pas continuer, puisqu'il y avait une absence de perspective de progrès. Et là-dessus, contrairement à ce qui est suggéré dans la note numéro 192, la Commission économique, au regard des longs travaux sur le sujet, et par souci de cohérence, ne devrait pas recommander autre chose. En revanche, il est vrai, et comme le souligne là pour le coup la note 192 des Émirats arabes unis,
Il est également dit que la TRP doit œuvrer à renforcer la compréhension des avantages de la libéralisation et des obstacles à l'ouverture de l'accès au marché, tant du point de vue des passagers que des services de fret. Et c'est ce point-là qui nécessite d'être creusé. Sur ce sujet spécifique et de manière générale, je crois qu'il est important de rappeler que, et ça a été fait déjà par plusieurs délégations, que le sujet des réassurances, je ne sais pas si le terme est d'ailleurs bien propre en français, reassurance en anglais, demeurera un élément incontournable de tout accord. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Merci beaucoup. La France, l'Italie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the floor. Italy supports the documents working paper 278 presented by Brazil regarding the liberalization of air cargo market. In the perspective of air transport market, we consider the benefits that the opening of the market for cargo in terms of routes and operational opportunity can bring to the industry and to the commercial relationship. We also recognize the importance and the value of the work done of the ATRP. About the other document, 192, presented by United Arab Emirates, Italy still supports the document and share the view of a more liberal market for all cargo services, always in a general framework where certain reassurances of a competitive market are taken into consideration, always reaffirming the need of a level playing field and fair opportunities. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Canada.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Canada supports the comments made by Sweden. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway.
Thank you again, Chairman. My intervention this time concerns Working Paper 192. And as I've already said a couple of times now, we fully support the decision by the ATC, which also means that we support the decision to cease the work on the development of a specific international agreement on cargo services. So we could not agree to work being resumed on a special cargo agreement. And this would also include any significant efforts by ICAO to promote and review the International Air Transport Agreement of 1944 as an instrument to liberalize cargo services. So in summary, we believe that the liberalization of passenger and cargo services should be done together, and that certain reassurances are necessary in such an agreement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Norway. Germany, please.
Thank you. We support Norway's intervention. Thank you.
Australia.
Thank you, Chair. We support the interventions by Sweden, France, Italy, Norway and Canada. Just in terms of the writers of the papers, we should note, of course, that they are split into A and B. I think we actually do generally support A, liberalisation is a good thing, but it is B where they go into asking for a particular course of action, so that might be reflected in the outcome. Thank you, Chair.
United States, please.
Like so many of the other states mentioned here today, the United States supports liberalization, but we also support the Air Transport Committee's direction that the ATRP should cease work on an all-cargo liberalization agreement. Given the wide divide on these issues and the inability of the ATRP to address them and come to consensus, the Air Transport Committee has instead directed ATRP to build the case for liberalization and cease work on developing a standalone all-cargo liberalization agreement. This is a prudent way forward in our view. We urge member states to work earnestly in support of that objective, and then more states may achieve the benefits of liberalization. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I have no more delegates asking for the microphone, so this concludes this segment of our discussion. The last batch is working paper 252 and 182. And again, to remind you, 252 is from United Kingdom on foreign investment in airlines, and 182 is from Qatar, development of an international convention on foreign investment in airlines. So the floor is now open for comments on these two working papers. Empezando con Costa Rica.
Disculpe, señor presidente, era por la anterior discusión de las notas, no esta que está mencionando.
Muy brevemente, por favor.
Sí, era mi intervención para el anterior apoyo a la nota 278, de la mano con la visión a largo plazo para la liberalización del transporte aéreo de la OASI, tomando en cuenta la demanda del mercado. Esa era la opinión de Costa Rica. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Coming back to the last two working papers, Czechia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would like to support the working paper 252 presented by UK. We fully share the view of UK in that paper. Secondly, we welcome the working paper 182 presented by the State of Qatar because the Convention on Foreign Investment in Airlines is the area of our interest. This convention has been examined by the ATRP. There are still some outstanding issues. And the State of Qatar is, in its working paper, proposing some kind of multi-tier regime trying to sort out those outstanding issues. We acknowledge this attempt to move forward, but we do not think the Assembly, or in particular this Economic Commission, is the right or appropriate forum for a detailed technical discussion on those or any other aspects. There is the ATRP established to deal with such technical issues, and we are ready to discuss the Qatari proposal or any other such proposals within that ATRP. But now we cannot support the part 3 of the working paper 182, especially paragraphs 3.3 and 3.4 to be included in the report, in the final report. So thank you.
Thank you, Czechia. Finland?
Finland would like to join the comments by Czech. So we are supporting working paper 252 and 182 with the same comments than Czech. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Austria?
Thank you, Chair. We also support the proposal or the working paper, and we share the view expressed by our UK colleagues in working paper 252. And to working paper 182, we support that was said already by Czech Republic. We also see it as a constructive way forward made by Qatar, and we appreciate the efforts here because we also think that we should proceed on the development of the Convention on Foreign Investment, but we have reservations on 3.3 and 3.4 to be included in the report, and we also cannot support the action points of the paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Austria. South Africa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In line with other comments already made in respect of working paper 182, South Africa wishes to note the paper and the proposals made therein. We are of the view that these proposals, particularly those related to the tiers of liberalization of the traditional ownership and control requirements, would be most appropriately dealt with through being comprehensively debated and considered in the ATRP before seeking endorsement from the Assembly. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Germany?
Thank you. Germany has an issue with the invitation in working paper 252 to finalize the work at the earliest opportunity. We already mentioned that reassurances related to fair competition and social and labor standards are necessary. We also support further discussions on free rider or traffic rights. Regardless of the terminology, we think that the Investment Convention would make it possible to use and combine traffic rights in a way that was not taken into account when they were granted and when the corresponding general conditions were being negotiated. We agree that the unresolved question as to whether additional oversight requirements need to be enshrined in the Convention would need to be discussed further. The background is that in many old air services agreements, there are no specific requirements on oversight, and this is in fact governed by the ownership and control requirements of the airlines. Therefore, we propose that the draft convention should be finalized as soon as appropriate reassurances are included. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Germany, Cyprus, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cyprus would like to strongly support all aspects of Working Paper 252 presented by the UK. Economic and especially aviation growth will come through improved connectivity, and connectivity is very important for islands such as Cyprus. Therefore, we would like to see the issue of foreign investment in airlines to be kept as a priority, and we would like to urge everyone to work closely together in finding an international consensus on the matter as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Qatar is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The State of Qatar would like to support Working Paper 252 presented by United Kingdom, and also Working Paper 278 presented by Brazil. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Italy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Italy supports document Working Paper 252 presented by UK, taking into consideration the benefits that progressive facilitation of foreign investment can bring to economic development of the market. At the same time, we know some work remains to address some concerns expressed by some states, but Italy reaffirms the value of the discussion ongoing in the ATRP for the change of ideas, opinions, just to reach the mutual understanding in this field. Thanks.
Thank you. Singapore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Singapore supports Working Paper 252 from the United Kingdom. We also support the spirit of Working Paper 182, and we also thank Qatar for the specific suggestions in the paper. We also agree with other comments that such details should be handled by the expert panel in ATRP.
Thank you, Singapore. Cambodia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Cambodia support the Working Paper 252 presented by United Kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway.
Thank you, Chair. We would like to join the supporters of the UK paper, Paper 252. And as we've already pointed out in our comments to Working Paper 16, we do recognize and acknowledge that there are still important outstanding issues that need to be resolved before an agreement can be finalized. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I sense great support for Working Paper 252 from the UK, so if you simply want to express your support for the paper as it is, not necessary to do it. If you have specific comments, please feel free to take the floor. Brazil's next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I do support the Working Paper 252 as presented by UK, and I also like to echo the comments made by my colleague from Singapore regarding Working Paper 182. Thank you.
It's good. You had a little bit of a value added there. Next is New Zealand.
Thank you, Chair. We support Working Paper 252, and we believe that there is value in an instrument where willing states can agree to waive airline nationality provisions. Thank you.
Thank you. España.
Gracias, presidente. Apoyamos el documento 252 presentado por UK.
No obstante, nos hacemos eco también de lo comentado por Alemania. Creemos que hay asuntos que resolver, que son importantes para avanzar en el camino de la liberalización, como es el caso de los aspectos sociales, por poner un ejemplo. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. United States, please.
Well, just to wake everybody up, the United States does not join in this consensus. Any such convention should be available to member states that wish to waive the traditional ownership and control criteria found in the majority of air services agreements, but it must not be binding on non-signatory states. States that do not agree to waive ownership and control through an ICAO-developed multilateral instrument are entitled to rely upon the criteria in their air services agreements, and they may elect to waive that criteria on a case-by-case basis. We agree with the United Kingdom on the economic benefits of liberalization, but access to foreign capital should not be the principal driver for liberalization. We appreciate that the United Kingdom recognizes the problems of the free rider and the bad actor, and that states have expressed a range of views on these matters in the 5 years that ATRP has been pursuing a convention on foreign investment. Now, please understand the United States does not object to ATRP continuing in this effort. However, the result must not be imposed on states that are not willing to participate in such a convention and choose instead to rely on the traditional ownership and control criteria. Thank you.
Just for my own benefit, United States, your comments apply to both working papers or just 252?
I am addressing paper 252. Thank you.
Thank you. Colombia.
Gracias, señor presidente. Colombia desea manifestar su apoyo a la nota de estudio 252 presentada por Reino Unido y se suma a lo expresado por Singapur en el sentido de que los insumos que nos presenta la nota de estudio 182 pueden servir de base para que el ATRP continúe con sus trabajos. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. There are no more delegates asking for the floor. Therefore, we close this discussion on...
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if this is on. I apologize.
It is on, and just for the benefit of the floor, if you could introduce yourself and the organization you represent.
On behalf of the International Federation of Airline Pilot Associations, we wanted to very briefly state that to the extent the ICAO and the ATRP pursues the liberalization of ownership and control, we support the comments of Germany and the need for safeguards or reassurances to be considered in any such document. And so that applies to both 182 and 252. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and my apologies. I had not seen you standing there. I didn't want to cut you off by any means. Very well. So 252 and 282 are now closed. Moving on to the second group of working papers on consumer protection. We have 3 working papers, 349 by the Dominican Republic, 92 revised by Finland, and 234 by Guyana. And I would now, and there's one information paper that we will not discuss, but we will note in the report. It's 388 by the Republic of Korea. I would now like to invite Dominican Republic to briefly present the working paper, and just to remind you, you have 90 seconds. Thank you.
Gracias. Placer presentar en nombre de la República Dominicana esta nota de estudio sobre las medidas de protección a los derechos del consumidor. Como resultado de las decisiones emanadas de la Asamblea durante su 38 periodo de sesiones de la OASI, fueron aprobados los principios básicos de protección del consumidor antes, durante y después del viaje. En esta nota de estudio, la República Dominicana se refiere a los antecedentes que dieron origen a la aprobación de los referidos principios básicos de derecho del consumidor, cuyo objetivo fundamental es servir de guía a los Estados miembros para la elaboración de sus políticas y reglamentación interna. También le sirve a la industria como parte interesada. El mismo constituye un documento vivo y puede ser enmendado en las futuras revisiones. La aprobación de los principios básicos de derecho del consumidor constituye un logro de la OASI en la formulación de directrices para la elaboración de normas que regulen la forma eficaz de compensaciones que debe prever la industria a los pasajeros. Para la fijación de estas compensaciones, se pudiera considerar la naturaleza del vuelo, la estrategia de negocios que aplica a la aerolínea, si es tradicional, bajo costo, el tipo de aeronaves que utiliza y el costo de la aprobación. En ese sentido, se invita a la Asamblea a discutir la viabilidad de conectar un instrumento que regule los montos de las compensaciones a los pasajeros, tomando en consideración las causas que originaron tal reclamación.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias.
I would now like to ask Finland to present Working Paper 92, very briefly.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
It will be Iceland who will present.
My apologies. Go ahead, Iceland.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will give you a very brief overview of Working Paper 92 presented by Iceland on behalf of the European Union and its member states and the other member states of the European Civil Aviation Conference. Along with the continuing liberalization of air transport, the protection and improvement of air passenger rights have gained greater importance at the international, regional, and national level. More than 4 years have passed since the adoption of the ICAO core principles on consumer protection, and according to research conducted by the ICAO Secretariat, in total 193 states have aviation-specific or general consumer protection regulations protecting air passengers. While it is clear that these topics are addressed differently in different parts of the world, reflecting the socio-economic environment and the role of regulators in the market, it is important to share the experience on how the core principles have been applied so far. All states and concerned stakeholders should be encouraged to join the discussion. On that basis, good practices could be identified and shared. ICAO serves as the most appropriate forum for exchange of views and good practices on these issues. Moreover, as air travel evolves rapidly, ICAO could ensure that in conducting these tasks, it recognizes the evolution in the perception of passengers' expectations, their rights, and the quality of service offered. The actions, as presented in the executive summary, invite the Assembly to call upon ICAO to take actions to facilitate an exchange of views and good practices regarding the application of core principles and of a monitoring system as presented in paragraph 2. Call upon ICAO to ensure that in conducting these tasks, it recognizes the evolution in the perception of passengers' expectations, their rights, and the quality of service offered as presented in paragraph 3. And to this end, invite ICAO to deal with the above-mentioned matters by using an existing ICAO body. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Iceland. Lastly, Guyana.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Working Paper 234 deals with key issues related to the global consumer protection framework. The importance of consumer protection has been repeatedly highlighted by instances of major travel disruptions. ICAO has developed core principles on consumer protection, which aim to provide guidance to passengers during the different phases of travel that can be adopted by regulatory authorities and industry operatives. However, prior to this, regulatory development in the field of consumer protection manifested via multiple channels through the adoption of specific legislation, prescriptive government rules from authoritative bodies, or as part of minimum requirements for airlines to operate within a particular state. Hence, there exists a global patchwork of regulatory regimes, creating consternation for both airlines and passengers. The Assembly is invited to invite member states that are yet to be parties to the Montreal Convention to sign on to and ratify the convention, and 2, request ICAO to develop standardized template regulations for unifying global aviation consumer protection regulatory framework to complement the Montreal Convention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will now discuss these working papers. Since we only have 3, the discussion will proceed working paper by working paper. So are there any comments regarding working paper 349? The floor is now open. Italy, please.
Thank you for the floor. Thank you for the floor, Mr. Chairman. I would like also to put together these documents. Italy believes that they are strictly linked together, and we support together all the 3 documents. In fact, Italy supports number 92, consumer protection, presented by Finland on behalf of the European Union, because it believes that it is very important to share experiences, views on the high-level, non-binding, non-prospective core principle on consumer protection and on its implementation so far at a global level. It will recognize many benefits for passengers, for airlines, and the convergence or also harmonization of consumer protection, and in particular in the field of passengers' rights. So the high level of passenger protection reached by the European system could be a useful example to whom the core principle should be also inspired. Therefore, it's important for Italy believes that the passenger is the central element for the aviation sector. He has to be protected in every disruptive situation when occurring. First of all, in terms of transparent, timely information, and has a right to care with relevant and effective assistance, reimbursement, and rerouting. In this view, Italy shares the ratio and the spirit, and so the benefits of a regulatory convergence and harmonization in the field of consumer protection and passengers' rights at international levels, as contained also in the working paper 234, and presented by Guyana, and in the working paper 349. That's why I decided, with your consensus, to put all together these documents, also to respect time limit. In this field, the priority should be focused on the implementation and application of ICAO core principle as extensive as possible, and to work on exchange of the best practices, taking into account experience made by the European air passenger protection system. Any change, Italy believes that any change or updates in terms of aimed standardization of the consumer protection regulatory framework should not in any case lower the high and efficient level of air passengers protection ensured by the European system in force. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Italy. I appreciate your lumping your comments together on the 3 working papers. I would encourage other delegates to do the same and be mindful of the time also. There's about 33 minutes between now and the next reception that I'm sure you are very keen on attending. So next is Colombia.
Gracias, señor presidente. Bueno, unida a la propuesta de Italia y a la que usted nos insta, presentaré los comentarios. Respecto al Working Paper 92, presentado por Finlandia en nombre de la Unión Europea, Colombia comparte esta nota de estudio en el sentido de que es importante tomar medidas para facilitar el intercambio de ideas y buenas prácticas sobre principios básicos de protección al consumidor y que posteriormente se elaboren textos, guías considerando las expectativas de los usuarios. Frente a la nota de estudio 330 presentada por República Dominicana, consideramos que es una muy buena idea empezar a plantearnos la posibilidad de que se cuente con un marco internacional que regule aún más este tema de protección al consumidor. Lo anterior se complementa también con la nota 234 presentada por Guyana, donde invita a los estados a que adhieran, firmen y ratifiquen Montreal del 99 y que se elabore un modelo más normalizado de reglamento para complementar este marco. En ese sentido, Colombia apoya las 3 notas de estudio.
Muchas gracias. Initially indicated we would discuss working paper by working paper. On second thought, it might be efficient to do it, to provide you comments on all 3 working papers at the same time. Feel free to do that if you want. Next is la France.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je vais concentrer mon intervention sur la note de travail numéro 349, pour laquelle je souhaiterais remercier la République dominicaine. Nous accueillons en effet favorablement toute ambition pour améliorer le niveau de protection des consommateurs dans le transport aérien, et il y a plein d'idées intéressantes dans ce que la République dominicaine propose. Toutefois, la proposition qui nous est faite ici d'étudier, je cite, un instrument, une convention internationale qui réglementerait le montant des indemnisations des passagers, nous semble prématurée comme travail. Pour nous, la priorité devrait être donnée à l'application et au développement des principes de base de l'OACI pour la protection des consommateurs, en échangeant notamment autour des bonnes pratiques existantes dans le monde, et ainsi construire des ponts entre nos différentes réglementations. C'est un des éléments centraux, je crois, de la note de travail 92 présentée par l'Islande. Et c'est sur ce point que devrait porter, selon nous, l'effort de l'OACI afin d'encourager la plus grande convergence opérationnelle et la compatibilité possible. Merci.
Merci, la France. New Zealand is next.
Thank you, Chair. New Zealand would like to thank the proponents of working papers 92, 234, and 349. We supported the core principles adopted in 2015. We want to encourage member states who have not already acceded to the Montreal Protocol to do so. We see a role for ICAO in assisting those states who consider their consumer protection regime is not as robust as it could be by providing guidance and other reference material. We concur with the points made by the Dominican Republic in Working Paper 349 that any instrument needs to allow for the full range of airline business models that bring benefits to the traveling public. For this reason, we would urge caution and careful study in moving beyond existing instruments, high-level principles, and guidance material. Thank you.
Thank you very much, New Zealand. Uruguay.
Gracias, señor presidente. Uruguay desea manifestar su total apoyo a la nota presentada por República Dominicana, la 349, y que también es concordante con la 92 presentada por Finlandia. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. South Africa, please. South Africa doesn't want to speak. Okay, Cameroon.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Cameroun soutient les 3 notes de travail et salue les avancées proposées pour la protection des passagers du transport aérien. Sur le plan interne, le Cameroun accorde de l'importance particulière à cette question qui est actuellement traitée dans un cadre formel de dialogue entre tous les partenaires de l'industrie sur la qualité des services offerts aux usagers du transport aérien. Je vous remercie.
Merci, le Cameroun. Canada.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Canada supports all 3 papers in general, noting, however, that while efforts to harmonize are beneficial, regional or local differences are likely to persist, and believes that in terms of the detail work that is proposed in some cases, it is best left to the ATRP. Thank you.
Thank you, Canada. Cuba.
Sí, Cuba. Bueno, nosotros quisiéramos dar nuestro apoyo a las notas 349, 92 y 234 presentadas por República Dominicana, Finlandia y Guyana respectivamente. Creo que todos los aquí presentes tenemos una responsabilidad con los pasajeros que transportan y que transitan por nuestros estados. Por lo tanto, todas las acciones que vayan encaminadas hacia esto debería centrar nuestra atención para futuros momentos. Muchas gracias, presidente, por su flexibilización de pensamiento en avanzar en esta asamblea sin perder la esencia de lo que estamos discutiendo. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Tanzania.
Thank you, Chair. We support Working Paper 349 and urge states to domesticate the ICAO principles on consumer protection. Thank you.
Thank you. Brazil.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brazil supports any initiatives to promote the core principles on consumer protection. We think that this is a task that is important to try to spread best practices regarding the consumer protection issue. Nevertheless, regarding working paper 92 and the 234, we think it's we should still see the results of this work of promoting the core principles prior to take any action regarding to try to regulate something about that. We sure incentivize any state that hasn't signed the Montreal Convention yet to do so and ratify it. Regarding the working paper 349, we don't support the action proposed by the working paper. Firstly, because we see that the Montreal Convention is something that addresses this issue, and regarding the paragraph 2.5, we think that despite the good and I think the working paper to bring an idea to try to how to harmonize something, but it's in our view would be very difficult to find a way to consider all the issues pointed out as a framework to try to do anything to find a compensation. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you, Brazil. United Arab Emirates.
Thank you, Mr. President. The UAE is of view that consumer protections principle should remain high level, non-binding and non-prospective. Thank you.
Thank you, United Arab Emirates, Norway.
Thank you, Chair. My comment relates to working paper 92, and as one of the states responsible for this working paper, we obviously support it, but I would just like to briefly offer some points of clarification. And as it's stated in the paper, we recognize the benefits for passengers and airlines of a certain degree of convergence as regards consumer protection regimes. And I would like to stress the word convergence in this context as opposed to harmonization. Our view is that any revision of or follow-up work with regard to the ICAO high-level non-binding core principles should not lead to a globally harmonized system. And our concern is that such a system may be difficult to reconcile or even incompatible with existing systems, which already provide a high level of consumer protection, for instance, the EU system, which also applies to Norway, Iceland and Liechtenstein via the agreement on the European Economic Area. And as we've also said in the paper, we think that the first step, since the ICAO high-level principles are still relatively new, is to exchange views on the implementation of these principles in the manner that is set out in the working paper, and any action that would entail harmonization and a legally binding instrument would therefore, in our opinion, be premature. Thank you.
Thank you, Norway. I have 9 delegates left. Again, if you simply want to express your support for these 3 papers as they are, there's no need to do that. There's pretty good support on the floor. I invite delegates to provide specific remarks on the working papers. So, Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Australia supports paper 92 and particularly supports the comments just made by my colleague from Norway. In relation to 234, we support A, obviously in relation to the Montreal Convention, but in relation to B, we don't think that's quite appropriate at this time. And as many of my colleagues said, in relation to 349, Let's just give the core principles a chance to work for us before we launch into some sort of instrument work. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Australia. South Africa.
Thank you, Chair. South Africa wishes to support the proposal that this work should be referred to the ATRP, where any modalities, including high-level principles, can be comprehensively explored. Thank you.
Thank you, South Africa. ACI.
Thank you, Chairman. ACI would like to comment on working paper 92 as presented by Iceland, and notably as referred to paragraph 3 and to action B as it regards to service quality provided by airports to their customers. The airport industry has been proactive in monitoring experience and quality of service. Only a few months ago, following a discussion held at the Air Transport Regulation Panel, the Council of ICAO acknowledged the importance of ACI's guidance material to its member airports on providing assistance to passengers in case of disruption, and encouraged ACI to continue its efforts to raise awareness of its guidance material. Additionally, we bring to the attention of the Economics Commission that ACI's Airport Service Quality, or AESQ program, is the best fit for the oversight of service quality provided to passengers and consumers, as it allows to both closely monitor service quality levels at a single airport over time and in comparison with peer airports. AESQ is present in 90 countries, and more than half of the 8.8 billion passengers in 2018 passed through an airport part of the AESQ program. It has become a unique, valuable monitoring tool for airport service qualities for both airport operators and for aviation oversight authorities worldwide. ACI recommends that the report takes note of the importance and the relevance of the AESQ program. ACI further suggests that AESQ be recognized by ICAO and by regulators as a valid and relevant passenger experience monitoring tool responsive to the needs of the airport community and of aviation oversight authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, ACI. Albania.
Thank you, Chair. Albania in general supports all three papers regarding passenger protection, but we'd like to stop for a moment in paper 92 presented by Iceland on consumer protection and air passenger rights. We are especially sensitive on what is the main driver of civil aviation. In the end of the day, is the passenger. The exponential growth of the past few decades in the global aviation scene has evolved airlines into efficient operational organizations of excellence, but expose them to many vulnerabilities that disrupt the passenger experience. It is our belief that the current mechanisms available for this delicate area are not enough, thus call upon ICAO member states to start by what the paper suggests, the facilitation of the exchange of views and good practices on the application of ICAO core principles on consumer protection and of an efficient monitoring system. Given the high dynamics of the industry, each occurrence affecting passenger rights is forgotten shortly after, and there is no materialization on lessons learned. Therefore, a more adequate monitoring system should be developed. Furthermore, in other areas of oversight activities, we have moved towards a performance-based oversight, and we believe that this approach could be adopted in the regulatory activities towards operational practices affecting passenger rights. Having said that, Albania strongly supports this paper as a first step towards improving this gray area, as a way of improving the reputation of air transport in the eyes of the affected final user, the passenger. Thank you.
Thank you, Albania. Nicaragua.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. El Estado de Nicaragua apoya la nota 349 presentada por República Dominicana. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. IATA.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. IATA would like to note that in recent decades, the growth of air transport means that more cities are connected than ever before, and the cost of travel has also fallen significantly. Accordingly, passengers and shippers benefit from historically unprecedented levels of both choice and value. In that context, IATA notes the need to strike a balance between passenger rights and ensuring sustainable airline operations and the continued development of air connectivity. IATA believes that the ICAO core principles, supported by the Montreal Convention 1999, effectively strike this balance. IATA has been active in promoting signature and ratification of the Convention and supports the call in Working Paper 234 for remaining states to ratify MC99. IATA emphasises the challenge presented by national regulations that either diverge or exceed the provisions of MC99, creating confusion for both airlines and passengers, particularly when regimes overlap, and notes that such challenges are further exacerbated by the extraterritorial application of passenger rights regimes. As noted in Working Paper 92, there are now more than 60 states with aviation-specific consumer protection regimes, and in total 190 plus states with regimes that impact on airline operations, giving a sense of the scale of this overlap and potential confusion. Therefore, before any consideration of revising the consumer protection principles, it would be important that an audit of the consistency of these regimes with the core principles and with MC99 be done first, highlighting conflicts, overlaps, and instances of extraterritoriality. Thank you.
Thank you, Jetta. I've got 3 countries left. I'm forced to give you no more than 60 seconds to make your remarks. So next is US, and I will have to cut you off if you go beyond that. Sorry.
The United States agrees with Paper 92 insofar as it advocates sharing experiences and implementing the core principles to support best practices, but we would not go beyond that for the same reason that the 6th Worldwide Air Transport Conference recommended that ICAO be limited to high-level non-binding principles. States have very different social, political, and economic characteristics. We would also support that all states sign up to the Montreal Convention as indicated in Paper 349, but we do not support the balance of that paper. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. Portugal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will focus on 234. PT generally supports the paper, and we recognize the importance of protecting consumer interests and the need for compatibility between different regimes. We support the recommendation expressed on point 4.1a of the working paper. Regarding point 4.1b of the paper, we acknowledge the work on developing core principles on consumer protection, which are high-level core principles, and we feel that first there is a need to exchange views and share experiences on how core principles have been implemented so far at the global level. Any change done to core principles should not lead to a unified, globally harmonized system, which may negatively impact already established and robust systems. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And lastly, Venezuela.
Gracias, señor presidente. Solo queríamos manifestar el apoyo a la nota 349 presentada por República Dominicana. Gracias.
Muchas gracias. This concludes the discussion on the second group of working papers on consumer protection. We now move to the third group, taxation and slot allocation. There is one working paper 321 by Airports Council International, as well as an information paper 275, which we will not discuss, but will be taken into will be noted for the report. I will now ask ACI to very briefly, in 90 seconds or less, present the working paper.
Thank you, Chairman. This paper calls for attention to the existing issues of taxation in air transport. The latest edition of ICAO's policies on taxation in the field of international air transport, Doc 8632, were released in the year 2000. And since then, they have been repeatedly deemed relevant and valid by the ICAO Assembly. ICI expresses, on behalf of the airport community, its full support for these policies. The working paper presents 3 sets of elements ACI wants to raise and for which we request your support and action from the Economics Commission. First, ICAO makes a clear distinction between a charge and a tax. Despite such clear distinction between the two concepts, taxes and user charges, some stakeholders continue confounding the general public between the two, and this represents a detrimental act to the global aviation community. Second, it must be recognized that aviation is a key driver of global economic development. High tax burden limits the potential economic benefits of air transport. Many governments across the globe view air transport as a luxury for the wealthy, despite a radical decrease in the real cost of air travel over the last decades. Unfair and/or unjustified taxation discourages demand for air transport, which in turn limits connectivity. The high tax burdens in some countries prevent them to fully unlock the economic benefits that air transport can bring in today's globalized society. Third, ACI supports the systematic use of cost-benefit analysis to assess the main costs associated with the taxation of airports, passengers, and air transport in relation to the reduced economic impact of aviation through an artificially inhibited demand. In light of these three elements, Mr. Chairman, ACI recommends that the Assembly reaffirm the importance of ICAO policies on taxation and recognizes the fundamental difference between a user charge and taxes, which should not be confounded. We further ask the Assembly to acknowledge the risk associated with poorly designed and/or excessive taxation, as well as the importance of cost-benefits analysis to taxation as a recommended decision-making tool in designing air transport-related taxes. Finally, ICAO should cooperate closely with ACI and other aviation stakeholders and engage more in the dialogue with taxation authorities so as to raise awareness on its own policies on taxation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, ACI. The floor is now open for comments, brief remarks on this working paper. Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Australia has no trouble with B, C, D and E, but we do have some problems with A, given the fact that the Australian government is responsible for its taxation policy, not document 8632, which is the way this could be construed. So it might need some reworking, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. IATA.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. IATA would like to support this working paper. Thank you very much.
Thank you, IATA. There are no more... Togo, vous êtes le dernier. Allez-y.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Togo appuie cette note de ACI. Thank you.
Très bien, merci. I see no more delegates wanting to take the floor. Therefore, we will close this section of our discussion. The last group is, and again, we're running out of time, unfortunately, but this group is deals with economic regulation of unmanned aircraft. I would like to bring to your attention the information paper from Japan. And it will be noted for the report. So, at the beginning of the session, I asked for your collaboration in keeping the interventions briefed, and you have done that. Thank you very much. Fortunately, we started half an hour late. We still have item 33 to go. I just discussed this with the Secretariat. We will add item 33 to the next meeting on Friday morning. And we'll have a bit more time then, but again, time will be of the essence. In closing today, I'd like to again thank you very much for all your comments and your interventions. J'aimerais aussi remercier le travail des interprètes et surtout leur flexibilité pour nous avoir accommodés aujourd'hui, étant donné l'imprévu auquel nous avons fait face. Un rappel, La prochaine réunion est vendredi le 27 septembre de 9h à midi. Je vous demande de bien vouloir arriver au moins 10 minutes à l'avance, car nous débuterons précisément à 9h. Durant la deuxième réunion, nous allons étudier une autre série de documents de travail, dont le document 22, intitulé en anglais « Consolidated Statement of Continuing ICAO Policies in the Air Transport Field » sur l'onglet 35 de notre ordre du jour. Afin de faire avancer nos discussions efficacement, je demande aux délégués qui ont des commentaires de les envoyer à l'avance au secrétariat par courriel à l'adresse suivante: E comme Echo, C comme Charlie, D comme Delta, @ICAO.int, c'est-à-dire India, Charlie, Alpha, Oscar.India, Novembre et Tango. Ou, si vous le préférez, en format imprimé à un des représentants du secrétariat ici présent aujourd'hui. Ceci nous permettra d'éviter, dans la mesure du possible, de faire un exercice de rédaction en groupe vendredi matin, et ça va nous sauver beaucoup de temps. Sur ce, M. Djibo, est-ce que vous avez un dernier mot que vous voulez adresser à la salle? Non? Encore une fois, merci. Profitez de la soirée, profitez des réceptions, et on se revoit vendredi matin à 9h. Merci.